Welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Thank you everyone in Zoom land for being here. Thank you everyone in person. We've got a full house. We're excited. We're featuring our very own CEO of the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Brandom Gengelbach. It's going to be a great show today. And to get us started, it's my pleasure to welcome past President Gary Cumby, the owner of Cumby Consultancy, for our invocation. Gary?
May we pray? Lord God, as we ask your blessing on this meal and this meeting, we ask also for your help with a math problem. In the midst of a global pandemic, geopolitical turmoil, and political and economic turmoil, even here at home, we sometimes forget how to count our blessings. We may have experienced difficult, even tragic events, which can seem overwhelming. And yet we are still blessed beyond measure. We have friends and family and organizations and institutions who love us and care about us. And yet there are others whose difficulties may be worse than our own and may not recognize that there is help and hope. Lord, as we remember to count our own blessings, help us show our gratitude by being a blessing to others. Help us reflect the fundamentals of our faith and the principles of Rotary by the service we give. Help us live, as Norman Vincent Peale suggested, the best way to forget your own problems is to help someone else solve theirs. In all this, we ask for guidance, wisdom, courage, and strength. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary, for that poignant prayer. You know, Rotary would be in a tough spot if we did not have the generous support of our sponsors. I'd like to thank Don Boren of Don Boren Signs. And if you didn't know, Don Boren and Company is a locally owned printing company. They're also veteran owned, and they have provided our local business community outstanding service for the past 40 years. Don, would you stand and be recognized? Thank you so much for all that you do for this club. All right. Now, many of you may know that we do the reading of the four-way test as our new tradition this year. So if you would read along with me, those of you watching at home or at work, online, and in the room, our four-way test is the four things that we think, we say, or we do to be good Rotarians and community stewards. Number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you very much. You know, one of the great honors that I have as president of the Rotary Club is representing this club at different community events and functions. One was just this morning. And so on the next slide, we should be able to see some pictures from the Class 87 graduation from the Fort Worth Fire Department. And folks, if you have never had the pleasure of being at an actual graduation ceremony of the police department or the fire department, it is remarkable. And I'll direct your attention to the screen for the coolest podium I have ever seen in my entire, right, Mayor? Mayor was there. Captain Driver was there. It's made out of ladders. And Captain Driver suggested that for the police graduation, he's going to make a podium out of billy clubs and handcuffs. So that'll be interesting. I can't wait to See how that turns out. Also, we have a special plea. I got an email from past President J.R. Labby, who works at John Peter Smith Hospital, as many of you know. And I've asked her to come online and give us a special plea. You know, JR has done so much work in working with those folks at JPS, especially right now, homeless during the pandemic. And JR, I'm going to spotlight you now. And so we should be able to see you on the screen and in person. And as we get you pulled up, we can go up to speaker view and see you in person. And JR, if you'd like to unmute yourself and take it away.
Well, I believe I'm unmuted and I believe I'm on video. Thank you so much, President Carlo, for giving me just a second to make a plea to our club members. We've come to you before for things like winter gear and socks, and you have never disappointed our patients or our team members. And I'm coming to you again with a really immediate need. Most of our patients who are admitted into the hospital come in through the emergency department. And while the majority of them do have their own smartphones with them, they rarely come with chargers and charger cords at the same time. We're not allowing visitors into the hospital right now for very obvious reasons. So many of our patients lose their connection with the outside world when their phone batteries die and we don't have a way to recharge them. Early on, we received a supply of chargers and the cords from a donor, but those were long ago used up. So you can help our patients and help our team members if you just look around your houses and find all of those unused charger cords and the chargers themselves. We will take any kind, although we need iPhones the most for those. You could be such a blessing to our patients and our team members. I'm happy to come to the Rotary office and pick them up, or you can drop them off at 1223 South Main Street, which is where my office and the foundation is. You can go directly to Amazon and order them online, just like you did socks, and have them sent to us directly. But anything you can do to help connect our patients to their families, to their faith leaders, to their friends, we would certainly appreciate it, because it also takes some of the stress off of our caregivers of having to be their only contact with an outside world. So thank you very much. And thank you, Carlo.
Thank you, JR. And thank you for your tireless work. Folks, in the Rotary Club, I'll send out an email this weekend to give more information on exactly how to donate. And I think on the next slide, you can see the types of chargers and also the wall plugs. If you have cords or wall plugs for Android phones, mainly iPhones, and those wall plugs, you can bring them to the next meeting here. I'll also send you the address for JR to take them or mail them to her directly. So thank you, JR. All right, next up, we have Dr. Joe Michaels, who's the managing principal for Solomon Bruce Consulting, LLC, for our welcome of visiting Rotarians and guests, both in person and out there online. Dr. Michaels?
Thank you, Mr. President. It is always a fun time to be at Rotary. It's Friday. The mayor's here. We're very, very excited. We're also excited because we have several guests with us today. Shane Brenner is here as a guest of Jason Ellis. Shane, glad you're here. Stand up. Are you a banker like Jason?
No, but we're working together.
Perfect. Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you. Katie Douglas gets to come with Brandon Gengelbach. Katie, are you with us? Stand up, Katie. Are you at the Chamber of Commerce with Brandon? What do you do?
Marketing.
You keep him in track, right? You kind of follow along or tell him where to go and what to do?
That's a whole other job.
But we've got somebody that does that. We're glad you're here with us at Rotary today. The third guest we have today is a lady that I know very well, a graduate of Texas Christian University. She is our vice president of our newly formed Rotaract Club. Margaret Bosey's here. Margaret? If you haven't got to meet Margaret and any of the other Rotaractors, you need to do that. This is a very, very impressive group of young professionals. Margaret's our vice president, and you'll want to enjoy meeting her. Thanks, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Dr. Michaels, for that warm and slightly militant welcome of Rotarians and guests. Now, for the moment that most of you have been waiting for, this is our traditional newscast. And to bring us the news today, we have Scott Hackler, the founder of Halo Del Santo LLC. So let's give him our traditional newscast welcome. Scott?
Forgot my mask. That wasn't part of the joke. I apologize. I'll hold my breath going back. Shares of retailer GameStop, which started the year at $18.84 on Wednesday, shares of retailer GameStop, which started the year at $18.84 on Wednesday, hit $380. Retail investors, spurred on by Reddit posts bashing hedge fund short sellers, have been called responsible. These mostly novice investors, many of them gamers themselves, are raking in enormous profits as the stock soars higher and higher. Most have never been so high. Well, at least since yesterday, eating pizza and playing their PS5s. Thank you. All right, there we go. For the second straight year, Facebook and Amazon topped all other US companies in spending for federal lobbying in 2020. Facebook spent $20 million and Amazon $18 million. You know, I grew up in Louisiana and went to college in Baton Rouge, and it was common knowledge then, even among LSU undergrads, that the price of a legislator's vote was a six-pack and a pork chop sandwich. It's a simpler time and place, folks. Yeah. Police in Russia arrested over 3,500 protesters on Sunday out to support jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny. And in a related story, those protesters have all died in a string of over 3,500 mysterious poisonings. The Kremlin is promising a full investigation. That's what I expected for that, actually. On Sunday, Tom Bradley of the Tampa Bay Buccaroos defeated the Green Bay Frackers, and the Kansas City Chefs beat the Buffalo Wild Wings, and whoever wrote this clearly doesn't follow football. Legendary, the late reaction over there. Legendary talk show host Larry King died Saturday at age 87, and that evening was fitted with custom wings that can be worn with suspenders. So this next one is something I've never done before. This is a straight read from yesterday's Wall Street Journal. I have not embellished this at all. I had to share it. It was so great. Iris Westman of Northwood, North Dakota, died this week at the age of 115. She was the second oldest living American. In an interview 5 years ago, Miss Westman was asked for her impression of then candidate Donald Trump. Quote, "I've heard of him," she said, "but not enough to express an opinion." She had more to say about Warren G. Harding, who served as president from 1921 until his death in 1923. Quote, "He was awfully good looking," she said. That's amazing. Anheuser-Busch has said it won't devote a Super Bowl commercial to its flagship Budweiser beer brand and will instead redirect spending to a marketing campaign related to coronavirus vaccinations. "Corona can kill you," the ad reads in all caps, with a beach in the background and a lime in the foreground. Merck & Company announced it is halting development of its 2 experimental COVID-19 vaccines after early clinical trial data showed the shots generated disappointing immune responses. Quote, "It is regrettable that our efforts have failed," stated the firm in a release, "but allow us to remind you that Propecia shipments continue unabated, you bunch of ingrates." And finally, on Tuesday, the lineup was released of the first ever private crew to fly to the International Space Station. Michael Lopez Alegria, Mark Pathy, Eitan Stib, and Larry Connor will each pay $55 million for the trip to take place over 8 days in early 2022. The initiative was announced by President Biden after less than 1 week in office, proof of his commitment to fulfilling his campaign promise to put America's 1%ers into rockets and launch them into outer space. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott. That was great. All right, next up, we have a first reading, and to help us with that, please welcome Acting Secretary Sean Snell, who is the Business Relationship Specialist with Texas Health Resources. Sean?
Hello, it's my pleasure to stand in for Blake Mormon, who was in Cancun, and he's on his way back today. So we do have one first reading for a proposed member, Lisa Brown. She is transferring from the Arlington Rotary Club. She happens to be a colleague of mine. She is the interim principal gift officer with Texas Health Resources Foundation. If no objections are received by next Friday in Rotary office, this proposal will proceed to the second reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. All right, now it is one of my favorite times. It's time to present our blue badge. For those of you that may not be familiar with Rotary, when you join Rotary, you get a red badge that looks like this. And then when you've done your 6 acts of service, it gets converted into a blue badge. And so we've got 2 folks today that are here in person, ready to convert their red badges. So it's my pleasure to announce Kelly Gillig, the owner of the Cookery in Fort Worth. And Kelly, if you want to come on up here, and we will give you your blue badge. And as you're making your way up here, if you'll take just a second, I'd like to ask you, what's been your best experience at Rotary so far? It can be a social event, it can be a volunteer experience, but as we trade, just let people know online and in person, what's been your best experience?
All right, well, very excited. I think it's been unique because I was the first Rotarian who was sworn in on Zoom when the pandemic started. And so I think my favorite experience is just how you've kept this going through the whole pandemic. You know, I think a lot of clubs were just on Zoom and been able to bring this back in person. So I really enjoyed the in-person meetings because, of course, I joined Rotary. So I think that's your technological, advances is my favorite part. So thank you, Carlos. Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Well, usually when someone compliments my technological advances, I don't take it as a compliment, but Kelly, I appreciate that very much. All right, next we have Julie Wilson. She is the founder of Reasons Group. And Julie, what has been your best experience so far as a Rotarian?
Thank you. I think my best experience after I was approved for membership was the dozens of emails and texts I got saying, "What? We thought you were a Rotarian." So thank you very much. I've enjoyed this.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Julie. Congratulations to Kelly and Julie. All right, now it's time for a new member introduction, and we are so pleased to have this new member. It's my pleasure to welcome officially Dr. Kim McQuistion. And let me tell you a little bit about Dr. McQuistion. She is the Vice President for External Operations and the Dean of the Fort Worth campus at Tarleton State University. She is also responsible for the university's teaching sites in Waco, Midlothian, and Bryan. So she stays very busy. Kim previously served as Chief of Staff to Tarleton's President James Hurley, who spoke at Rotary about a year and a half ago. Some of you may remember. Kim has a doctorate in agriculture from West Texas A&M University. She and her husband, Brian, live in Aledo and have 3 children. So please help me welcome Dr. McQuistion, and she will tell us something very interesting about herself. Doctor?
Thank you, Carlo. Very excited to be here. Certainly Tarleton is very excited to be in Fort Worth as well. So I'm just grateful to get the opportunity to get to network with each of you moving forward. Something fun and interesting. I got a degree at Texas A&M, so if any Aggies, I'll hear a woo. Okay, good. Also a K-State Wildcat, got a master's degree up there as well. But my interesting fact is that I'm not from Fort Worth, but my husband is, born and raised and graduated from Arlington Heights. So while this is not my home, initially, I'm very excited to now call this home and be back home where my husband's family is from. So thank you for having me.
Congratulations, Dr. McQuistion. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. We are so excited to have Tarleton State University and Dr. McQuistion in the club. So thank you for being here. All right, now it's time to spotlight some of our members that some you may know and some that you may not. And just as a fun little exercise here, I'd like to, when you're home on Zoom and in the room, if you have ever proposed a member to become a member of the Rotary Club, just show me your hand. If you've ever proposed a member, okay, keep your hand up if you've proposed more than 5 members. Okay, anybody propose more than 5? Okay, maybe on Zoom, 5-ish. Well, the person who we are spotlighting today by far easily holds the record for having proposed the most members in the history of our club, and probably top 10 worldwide. This is Bob Mitchell. He is the executive recruiter of Whitney Smith Company. And Bob, come on up here. I know you're shy in front of the microphone. So let's see if we can help him cure him of his stage fright. He's been a member for 36 years. Let's give it up for our very own Bob Mitchell.
Howdy. Before I launch into what I'm supposed to do, I want to give a little shout out about our experience with our vaccine shots. My wife and I had our second shots yesterday. She at the Bolin Center at mid-morning, me at the Resource Center mid-afternoon. No line, either place. And the experience was very similar to the first, except for the first vaccine. There was a 2-hour line. However, everything was organized. The folks were very professional and very pleasant. So it made us proud to be Tarrant County residents, because we're seeing all this stuff about the county next to us and all over the country, what a mess they're making of it. This was a great experience, and it's wonderful to report that. Okay, now the questions at hand. So how long ago, you already told me that, told them that, and how did I become a member of Rotary? So about 37 years ago, Bill Connor, the Con in Alcon, asked me if I would like to be nominated for Downtown Rotary. And I didn't know exactly what that was. And he said, well, you'll get to know all the leadership of the center of the city very quickly. And I said, well, sure, that sounds great. There was no formal orientation back then. So about a month later, I get a call and they say, well, it's your first meeting. You've been approved. Come to the meeting. And I sat right over there at Carly's table, and Carly's seat, actually slightly to the right of Carly. It was full table, which was 8, I think, back in those days. And the fellow next to me was this very prominent, very engaging young, successful banker, civically involved, eventually became president of Downtown Rotary. And he said after the initial pleasantries, he said, so how did you get into Rotary? After I collected myself and said, oh, well, thanks for the welcome. He said, oh, no, you don't understand. For over 50 years, only one bank could be represented in this Rotary, and that was Texas Bank, or the Fort Worth Bank, or its successor at the time, Texas American Bank. And then they allowed 2 alternates also from that same bank. And then he said in the 60s, we went nuts and allowed First of Fort Worth to have a member and 2 alternates. And he said, so you've blown into town here recently, a bank that's brand new, and parenthetically, and a damn Yankee, I'm sure. And he said, how did you do this? So I had not a clue. I didn't know it was exclusive, but apparently it was. And that has changed a bit, which I think change is great when it's in the right direction. So I think it's great that we've moved along a bit. My biggest extravagance before COVID was international travel. Our biggest extravagance during COVID is domestic travel. What I do, he's already mentioned. What was the other? Oh, what is the lesson learned in the challenges of COVID? And the lesson learned, and the mayor is about to appreciate this in another month or so. I thought I saw Maddie here, maybe not so much, but anyway, and that is you don't have to be on the circuit at every event, go to a million things during the holidays, 4 or 5 nights a week, be out. You can have a perfectly wonderful existence, relatively stress-free, just being occasionally at something. So this has been a wonderful experience. Thanks, everyone.
Well, thank you, Bob, for sticking to that strict 1-minute time limit. I really appreciate that. So Bob and I were talking this morning, and we figured that he has recruited about 200 people to Rotary in the last 37 years. So thank you for that, Bob, and thank you for your commitment to recruit Yeah, go ahead. He deserves it. He doesn't get enough applause. Thank you also for the 200 more members you've agreed to recruit by the end of this year. Thank you. Now we'd like to go to our next member. This is Mr. Jason Ray, and I'm going to spotlight him right now, and we'll pull him up on the screen. Jason is the president of CEO of an outstanding organization called Clayton Youth Enrichment, or Clayton Yes. He's been a member since May of 2016 for 5 years. Jason, great to see you. And feel free to unmute and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, President Carlo. Good afternoon, everyone. So I joined joined Rotary at the insistence of my board at Clayton Youth Enrichment. None of them were members, but they all knew that it would be a great investment of my time. And Don Marable was kind enough to sponsor me in. I knew the good that would come out of it because I'd been part of the Arlington Rotary Club in the 90s and was excited to re-engage. But outside of Rotary and my work at Clayton, running and cycling are my two socially distanced activities that you'll find me doing. And if not for COVID, I'd be missing our meeting next week to attend my annual Super Bowl weekend guys ski trip. Very sad to miss that this year, but I'll be doubling up on the ski trip next year to make up. The bigger impact of COVID for me, though, has been on my nonprofit. We've seen a 2/3 reduction in children participating in our after-school programs. And this has created challenges ranging from revenue decreases to making sure we're in a position to serve a lot more students this fall when we hope the schools have a lot more kids in them. But we're figuring things out, and I know I've certainly grown professionally over the past year. I certainly miss being in person and in service with all my Rotary friends, and I look forward to being back with you all soon.
Jason, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. A hand for Jason Ray and all the work he does in the schools. Thank you very much. Well, our last spotlight, before we turn it over to Mayor Price to introduce our speaker for today, will be Dr. Diane Sanchez. And Diane, Dr. Diane, we're going to spotlight you here. And she is the chair of the Community Outreach Committee that has done some incredible work. So Dr. Di, she is the CEO and president of Sanchez and Associates and DAS HR Consulting LLC. Dr. Di, it's always great to see you. Tell us a little bit about the Community Outreach Committee, maybe what you've done and what you have in the works as we slowly unpause from COVID.
Well, it's been an honor to serve as the chair for 2.5 years. And so it's been really, really exciting. I can't see the slides, President Carlo.
Yeah, we'll share. We'll share screen in just a second as we do that.
Okay. All right. Well, as always, we're trying to recruit members. Okay, here we go. So our goal of the community outreach is the 4-way test. So we feel like we cover 3 and 4. Of course, building goodwill and better relationships and beneficial to all concerned. Our members are myself, I'm the chair, Greg Carter, Carrie Hunsaker, Rebecca Montgomery, and Carol Bearts. We're always looking for others. This is a big, big committee. As you can see, 2 years ago, we fed, 20,000 people here in Fort Worth. It was a lot of fun. It was the biggest event we had. We had over 100 Rotarians and, a lot of volunteers, a lot of fun, a lot of family members. Can you go to the next slide? So, okay, there we go. 20,000 meals, and there was everybody. Like I said, it was a wonderful, wonderful event with the generosity of, many people. But we were thrilled to have it pre-COVID. The next one, this past year, we did the food bank, and I do not encourage you to do what Sean Snell did in high heels, ladies, but we also helped the Tarrant Area Food Bank. Again, wonderful, wonderful event for our Rotarians. Next slide. Here's what we had pre-COVID, had thought about doing, and we did. We focused in October on circling the wagons, which really was a passion of Greg Carter, and it was to go and help most of our minority food owners. And we did a great job. Most of them said, yep, it really upped their business. It was from everything from barbecue to donuts. And it was really, you know, a great success. We did that for about 3 months, and we did it weekly. We usually do Union Gospel Mission, and we serve there, but it's kind of been a little bit downsized. Annually, we do We Care, which is again Greg Carter, Boys and Girls Club event. We had done it the year before, and we had 75 Rotarians singing and serving the kids and making Christmas gifts. It was wonderful. We had a social event afterwards. But this year, the Rotary gave $5,000 to the Boys and Girls Club to have hygiene bags for the families. And so, you know, we had to modify that. Hopefully we will have another event for the Boys and Girls Club with the Rotarians. Again, in 2021 and last year, we have the annual point in time count for the homeless individuals. And this is an annual event throughout the country to count how many homeless people we have. Last year, it was great. We had 50 Rotarians participate. This year, it's going to be virtual. And so hopefully next year it'll be good. And as you can see, we had planned for a 5K in various nonprofits, breast club, you know, breast cancer and all these other ones. But unfortunately, we're kind of in a little bit of a quandary about this. And what our hope is that the Rotarians would come out. We would have there normally there's a bunch of booths, and we would be able to communicate our mission and hopefully encourage more individuals to participate in the Rotary. So again, we're in a little bit of a holding period, but we are hoping that you all, will help us in our committee. Next slide. Now, if you are a nonprofit, and we did a survey 2 years ago, and we asked these questions about what kind of events you have and how many Rotarians you might need, and what was the cost that you want for the project and all of that. This is the document. Now you can get it from any member on our committee, or you can send me an email. And I know after COVID, you might then need more help as we get closer to having more socialization. So thank you for the spotlight. People who want to join, I encourage you. It's a wonderful, wonderful committee. Back to you, Ms. President Carly.
Thank you, Dr. Dye. Thank you for your wonderful work. If you're interested in how to get involved in the Community Outreach Committee, please contact Dr. Dye. All right, one last announcement. And Tom, if we can share screen, we'll show one more. The Minority Business Award competition. We are so fortunate to have so many sponsors for this program, and we'll send you the slide via email, and let's go right into our introduction. You know, they say that those who have the longest introductions are the ones who need them the most. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our Mayor, Betsy Price.
Thank you, Carlo. It's great to see you all, and it's great to see some on Zoom and some in person. I don't know about y'all, but I'm about done with Zoom. It's a great tool, but 2020's taught us nothing, if not that we can't take things for granted. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'll keep this short and sweet. My good friend, Brandom Gengelbach, and I will challenge you to spell Gengelbach. And his name really is Brandom with an M on the end and not Brandon. Took me a while to get that. President and CEO of our chamber. Brandon came to Fort Worth in 2016. First time I met him, I knew we'd be great friends. He's an avid runner, but more than that, he's an avid cyclist who rides a Cervelo bike just like me. High energy, loves to have a good time. We've had the opportunity to travel several times with the airport, and he claims that I instigated the tequila shots, but if you want to know the truth, he's the tequila shot guy. I won't read you his whole bio. I will tell you that Brandon is incredibly innovative, incredibly high energy, does a beautiful job. He's lived in 6 different countries growing up, and he's fluent in Australian. Go figure. Good day, mates. He also has completed 4 Boston marathons, and that's quite an accomplishment in its own right. But folks, here's the real claim to fame that you don't know. Brandon made it to the final round as a candidate on The Bachelor. And that's a tape I'm still looking for. When we find it, we'll show it at the Chamber's annual meeting. He's there you go, and married Miss Alabama. That's right. So please help me welcome my partner in crime, Brandom Gengelbach.
What's up, everyone? Talk about an amazing experience. We all should be so lucky to have the mayor introduce us at some point in our life. I want to start a one more election chant for you, one more term. You're the greatest. If you don't know, she's the best mayor of ever. Very blessed to have her. Thank you so much for your friendship, guidance, energy. You're the best. Seriously. Come on. Come on. All right, I want to thank Carlo and Bob for the 5 minutes that I have to lay out the brand new strategy and the direction of the organization post-COVID. That's worked out really well. So yeah, we'll chat a little bit. I do want to give a shout out. If you don't know how awesome and blessed we are as a Rotary Club to have Carlo as the president, there needs to be a 5th way test, right? We've got 4. The 5th is that you will, on a Wednesday, pick up a buddy who's stranded on the side of the road with a flat tire and take him back to the Fort Worth Club, which is what Carlo did on Wednesday. So that's the type of leader we have who just, seriously, he walks the walk. He's a good man. So Carlo, blessed to have you lead this organization and be in this community. You're a good man. Lastly, I do know for a fact that half of the people that Bob has brought on to Rotary were literally wearing a towel, brushing their teeth in the Fort Worth Club when he approached them. If it's anything like me, I've met probably 70 people while I'm doing some sort of inappropriate function in the Fort Worth Club bathroom shaving or something. Bob, you're an aggressive, talented person, so. Yes, it did. It did. Seriously, appreciate you, Bob, honestly. All right, so last thing I want to do is, y'all, online, I know Zoom, it stinks. It's not the greatest. We've got 70-something people online. So Carlo's going to look, Carlo, whatever your favorite restaurant is, you choose. And I want you all on Zoom to be chatting. What is the most, what are you wearing right now? Like, be vulnerable about what you're wearing. And the most pathetic person who is using the chat feature, Carlo is going to pick one, and I'm going to buy dinner for 2, you and whoever else tonight, order it in, get it to your address. I'll text you right after this. So Carlo, be on the lookout for really pathetic outfits. Yes, there's so many I can visually see, much less some of those that we can't see. So, all right, so that's it. Let's get to business. So let's go. Oh, there you go. So the title is Rebrand and Rebuild. Let's focus on the future. It doesn't deny the fact that right now the Chamber of Commerce, all of us are focused on surviving for the next 6 months at the very least. So I'm not going to minimize that. Our role has been to be able to help businesses not thrive, but to survive. So we will continue to do that, and we have done that. Fort Worth has done a great job of coming together, chambers of commerce, the community organizations that are represented here today. Seriously, y'all are the best. But at the same time, from the chamber perspective, we've got to be thinking, okay, what does the future look like in a post-pandemic world? And are we prepared for that? And can we as an organization help lead that effort? And it's a good time to be able to do that with me transitioning and Bill Thornton retiring to be able to do that. So it starts with rebrand and then rebuild. So if you don't know, last week we launched our new Chamber of Commerce brand last Tuesday. You can see it on the screen and check it out. If you go one more slide, I thought you said there was a clicker here. Oh, there it is. Thanks, man. So the whole idea around this is bringing some new energy, bringing some excitement, bringing some creativity to the Fort Worth Chamber logo to be appealing to those members, those entrepreneurs that are looking at the organization, as well as those that are looking at Fort Worth, because this is the brand that we're going to be using to promote Fort Worth to the globe. So we wanted sort of the youthful, energetic, creative, innovative. We stuck with the star. The star has been part of the chamber. The star also symbolizes the spur of the boot, the Western heritage piece. And then we have the red piece as we're trying to bring some of the community brands together. We have all these great organizations, but the logos are all different. And the Hispanic Chamber specifically, kudos to Annette, hello, and Visit Fort Worth and Bob have a similar look and feel in that red logo. And that's a power heroic sort of role and color. So we wanted to go along with that, which is what you see here. So new logo, new look, hopefully conveying, and I hope you enjoy it and are excited about it. We launched that last week. The other piece is we have a new space. I showed Carlo the new space, and he was like, you got to show some pictures, man. People are going to want to see. So incredibly blessed during COVID through our great friend, Walter Littlejohn. We're here on floor number 9, and then Charlie Royer with Royer, who came together during a pandemic to help us out in a way that I cannot begin to explain and thank. Very minimal expense from the chamber standpoint in terms of outlaying capital during a COVID piece. So very, very blessed. I can't wait for you all to see this, but this is a visual representation of bringing our community together, bringing our members together when it's safe to do so, bringing in our prospects, showing new space, new look, new energy about who we are as an organization and what we're about. So when it's safe to do so, we'll have that. If you've heard of T3 and Maddie Parker's group, Tarrant County 2 and Through, they're going to be located with us. And the idea is really to have an economic development hub that's located here on the 9th floor that anyone can come and work at. Plenty of open spaces, pods, areas, members, businesses, entrepreneurs. In fact, Carlo's going to be using some space as well. So that's the rebrand piece of the organization taking us into the post-pandemic world. Any questions on that? I want to be conscious because we don't have much time. All right, so why don't you take the slides down, because the slides can be so boring, y'all. I want to try to connect with these two cameras because I know it's no fun to be zooming it. So let's talk about the rebuild piece. So from our standpoint, there's the great quote of what gets you there, or what got you here won't get you there, right? So from a chamber's perspective, as we look at growing and developing the economy in 2021 and beyond, what does that look like? So we've had to completely revisit who we are as a chamber and then who we are as an economic development agency for Fort Worth. And so those are the big changes that we've been undergoing during the COVID process. The first one is internally. So started with about 40 staff at the Chamber of Commerce. We now have 17. So the goal was to completely retool the organization. We were involved in international business, veteran affairs, workforce, education, you know, I don't know, lovers of candy in the zip code 76109. We were doing all sorts of things that were amazing, but when as we all know in business, as you do all those things, it's a mile wide and an inch deep. So we've had to retool the organization, and we're now in the process of building back up. So from a staff perspective, it's got to be multifunctional individuals. We're not siloed in one area. We had to really revisit the member benefits that we offer our members as an organization. We were finding that the more events and activities, the more bandwidth and the less actual economic development work we could do as an organization. So lots of change internally that has been quite an experience as a leader of an organization. But the Fort Worth Chamber is now in that position where we're ramping back up. So that's the rebuilding piece within the organization. So what's our strategy moving forward? What does it look like? And it's three things. If it doesn't fall in these three things, we're not doing it. So think develop, attract, and cultivate. That's it. So can we bring up that one slide again? I will show you the one slide. You're so gracious to be able to do that. So how are we going to do this? What are we about moving forward in terms of an organization? So moving forward, this is it. This is the answer. You're the first ones to hear this. We officially launch this next week. What is the Chamber of Commerce? What do you do? We grow and develop the economy to create economic prosperity for all. That's it. That's the elevator pitch. We grow and develop the economy, number one. Number two, economic prosperity for all. It's great to grow the economy. It's great to have Facebook up north, but not so great for East Fort Worth, not so great for the socioeconomic challenges we face. So it's not just creating jobs and growing the economy and helping you be successful. It's doing it in an inclusive way to make sure that those from a socioeconomic standpoint are experiencing that. That's a big part of our effort, is bringing jobs to those distressed areas. So that's our mission. Very easy. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that by developing, attracting, and cultivating. All right, you can take the slide down. We'll leave it there, and I'll connect for the next few minutes. So the developing piece is growing and developing local business. That is at the core of what we do. That is the easiest way to transform the economy, is developing the businesses. Attracting is all sexy and cool and gets all the attention, but the development is where it lies. So number one, we're going to continue to be a member organization, growing and developing our members. We're not going to grow and develop our members by 342 events in a hotel lobby ballroom where we shake hands. The silver lining of COVID is that it's allowed us, and allowed our members, more importantly, to recognize, wow, there are benefits virtually, digitally, technologically that we can take advantage of that help us as a business. Prime example, we're going to have a multimedia room in our new office. Any member of the chamber can come into this office, do a podcast, be able to do streaming on our event app, Whoop, not Whoop, what's it called? Hopin, thanks. Do a Zoom call, be able to do anything you want as part of your membership. That's a huge blessing. All that infrastructure, all that cost and that equipment. It's those types of benefits that are meaningful, but they don't take the bandwidth of like 20 of our staff putting together a ballroom event. And that leads us to put more time and effort towards some of these other things that I'm going to talk about. The other piece of develop is starting industry councils. We want to have independently funded industry councils to grow and develop specific economic industries in Fort Worth. Think technology, mobility, aerospace, aviation. What we're finding is businesses are not so much into giving $50,000 to the Chamber's Economic Development Fund. They're interested in getting 50 grand to grow and develop the technology space where they operate, or the aerospace. I want to make sure I have the right workers. I want to make sure that we're recruiting some of my suppliers. I want to make sure my staff doesn't leave. We'll put our money towards that. Great. give us the money, we will put it in this account, and you all hire somebody, and you all have somebody that reports to you. This isn't rocket science. Nashville, Phoenix, everyone does it. They have a healthcare council, tech council. Most of them started a chamber, and they end up being this separate entity. So can we grow and develop our economy by these councils that have dedicated staff? So, all right, I'm real conscious of time. That's the develop. We move on to the second, attract. This is the biggest gap in the Fort Worth Chamber, the biggest challenge for us as an organization, and we don't shy away from the fact that we have not delivered in this area as much as we've needed to. Two problems. Number one, we've been so wide, as I've mentioned, that we're doing 1,000 different things, and the bandwidth needed to pull data and information to target specific companies and fly out to visit them, we haven't had time to do that because we're trying to do these workforce issues and we want to help out here. They're all great things, but we're the only ones who are really charged with specifically recruiting new business. So we've got to stop the other stuff. That's important. It's hurt. It's gotten plenty of people upset, but we've got to focus on that core. That's been the one challenge. The other is, y'all, we're busy. Everyone loves Fort Worth. I can show you the slides. I'll be happy to send the decks. We can't go through them. The amount of companies that have come here. When someone knocks on our door, we have to answer. I don't care if they pay $15 an hour or $15,000 an hour. Like, we represent the front door, and those are consultants and companies. We have to answer it. Chris is the man back there. So if you've got any business questions, he heads economic development. He's got about 100 prospects in the pipeline during COVID of businesses that want to come here. So we're so maxed out on that, we don't have the time to sit here and be prospecting in California. Well, we do now if we've got 3 things we focus on, and if we've pared down the staff and build back up to where we have 2 sides of business attraction, managing prospects and then out there targeting and prospecting. Fort Worth now, and the mayor's diving into economic development has been the biggest blessing of Fort Worth. Besides having money and resources towards business attraction, we have to have commitment from the business leaders. We haven't had the commitment we need to. Mayor Price realized that and got engaged. Do you guys know Bobby Adier? Dude has been screaming for 1.5 years about Texas A&M. He's met with everyone, and he did meet with my grandma before she passed. But he's so passionate about this, and it makes sense. But at the end of the day, our mayor picked up the phone with John Goff and said, hey, John, we want to come see you, the chancellor of A&M. We want to come see you and talk to you about Fort Worth. Bobby Adier is the Brandom Gengelbach, right? Great visionary, great strategy and thought. We cannot get stuff done without movers and shakers engaged in the effort. So Fort Worth now is going to bring that to business attraction. Fort Worth now is going to come together with the chamber and really have a specific component of leveraging high value influential people for specific targeted purposes to be able to attract new business to the community. So I'm telling you, that is the biggest gap that I've seen since I've been here. And all you had to do was to say, you know what, we're doing this. So you're the best. All right, so last thing is cultivate. We need to be having the right environment here to keep you, to keep your staff, and to attract new business. That is so important. What are we doing on that front? Y'all, Mayor's working her tail off on Panther Island. And I know Kay Granger's working her tail off. What's the business community doing on Panther Island? What's the Fort Worth Chamber doing to rally the business community to get this thing going, which is a huge asset for us? What's this business community going to do with A&M, the idea that a Tier 1 research university wants to do something in downtown? What can we do with this amazing property that Fort Worth ISD has and that the city of Fort Worth has, and be able to leverage that real estate for the types of development that will benefit us, the types of development that's not necessarily knocking on our door, but what we need? How can we assemble some property in East Fort Worth for the love of the Lord to sell for businesses doing manufacturing distribution. Are you telling me we can't sell 300 acres in East Fort Worth in between I-20 and I-30 right next to the airport? We haven't done anything on that front. It's cultivating. So again, it's getting more engaged in those efforts to bring that prosperity to all. So I'm sorry I can't take questions. I'm sorry, it is what it is, but I want you to know it's a rebrand, it's a rebuild. Our strategy is simple. It is be able to develop, attract, and cultivate. That's the future of the organization, the future post-pandemic. Happy to take any questions afterwards. Y'all are the best. Long live Fort Worth. Woohoo!
Well, Brandom, I'm sorry we couldn't get you to come out of your shell with us today. Thank you for your leadership, but most of all, thank you for your honesty and your focus. Sometimes when things are hard, you have to really hone in and focus, whether it's a business or a membership-based organization or a family. You focus in on one thing, you do that one thing really well. Thank you for your laser focus. Here are some things that you all can do to support the chamber. Join. If you're a part of a business, join the chamber. There are like 1,700 members. Most are small businesses. My business is a member. We can also like them on Facebook, Fort Worth Chamber, and spread the news and share with your with all of your contacts. Brandom, it is a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to donate a book to the Fort Worth Public Library. They will have a book plate in honor of your speech today. Here is a COVID-free plaque and a copy of your book plate. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you. That was great. And Brandom has said that he will stick around afterwards if you'd like to chat with him. So thank you for that. Let's blow through our final few announcements here. We would like to, again, thank you, Don Bourne Signs. Thank you for your leadership and your generosity being with us today. Don't forget that we have, if you'd like to sponsor a virtual meeting, let us know. Shanna Saldana is our chair. It's still time to pay your dues. We've almost got 100% of people that have renewed, so we are so thankful for that. Next week is forming a more perfect union. We'll leave that as the cliffhanger. We've got fellow Rotarian Dr. John Barnett and Dr. Jason Shelton, who is the director of Center for African American Studies at UTA. It's going to be a great show. Don't forget to come next week and let us know if you're planning on RSVPing so we can have a chair count and a food count for you. And Brandon, to your question about the winner, you know, I got some interesting replies. I was monitoring the chat. Councilwoman Ann Zeta is wearing yoga pants. She was particularly proud of that. Jason Ray gave a detailed description of what he's wearing. I'm not sure if they match, but I couldn't quite get it in my head. Lindsay Russian and Becky Fetty are both wearing UGG slippers, and maybe we can make them big, Tom, you can see. Ryan Barrera, who is the best dressed man in Fort Worth today, finally worked against him because he did not win. Christy Eckler was wondering who pays $15,000 an hour and how can she be of service? Very interesting. So I've delegated that responsibility to David Campbell and Wesley Gentle, who are both online. They'll come up with the winner and they'll let you know. Folks, this has been the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Thank you, everybody online. Thank you, everybody in person. We miss having you all online with us here in the Horizon Room. We hope you have a safe and wonderful weekend. Thank you.